uh, uh, mm, mm, mm. Good morning. That's a tune that I'm working on called Jubilation in the People's Key. We need that more than ever, jubilation, and people are feeling like the people more. We're all going through the same thing. It makes us all the people who are going through the same thing. It's pretty amazing, actually. Kind of unprecedented, as everybody's pointing out. Hey, I'm going to try a short video that's first of three, talking about resources and nomenclature of the major scale. Nomenclature is a fancy word, but it just means the names of things associated with the major scale. I'm hoping that these three little videos will be useful for the most beginner person who's just learning a scale to more advanced people who I'm trying to get to understand that these scales and all musical organizations like scales and chords and tonalities, keys, these things are environments that a creative musician can enter into if they know what constitutes the environment. So let's just talk quickly about what you can find in a major scale. Of course, first there are the notes in the scale, which if I play the C major scale are going to be C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. We've already talked about do, a, dear, and major scales, but let's think about the names of these notes, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Well, certainly those names can be changed if you go to a different key. You can go to A flat, B flat, C, D flat, E flat, F, G, A flat. Those are the notes in A flat major. We can learn all this. It's quite learnable, pretty simple. People always say music is math. I sort of say, thank God it isn't, because I'm terrible at math, but I'm not so bad at arithmetic. Music is more arithmetic. But anyway, so now think of the notes of the scale more as our familiar syllables. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Now think of it as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Then think of it as the names of the notes in terms of their description in the scale. What describes their position in the scale? The first note is called the tonic because it's the tone that defines the key that you're in, the tonic. The tonic, like tonic. And it is a tonic. Isn't it refreshing to get back to that tonic? Anyway, that's a joke. The next note, the second note, is called the supertonic because it's above the tonic. The next note is called the mediant because it is halfway between the tonic and the fifth note, which is called the dominant. So you have the tonic, the supertonic, the mediant, which is halfway between the tonic, and the dominant, which is 5 up. Now the fourth, right below the dominant, is the subdominant. And of course, people like me for years thought that was because it was below the dominant, and I just didn't pay any attention to wonder why then the sixth note was called what? The submediant. And the answer is simple. It's because the subdominant is not called the subdominant because it's below the dominant, but because it's 5 below the tonic. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4 is the subdominant, and 8, 7, 6 is the submediant. So then the last note in the scale, the seventh, is again a descriptive term, the leading tone, T to do. So you have subtonic in the key of C. C is the tonic, D is the supertonic, E is the mediant, F is the subdominant, G is the fifth, the dominant, A is the sixth, the submediant, and B is T7, the leading tone. Why is it called that? Gotta have the tonic. Beautiful. So those are the names of the notes. After that, we start to understand that the major scale sounds the way it does because it is a certain very specific combination of whole steps and half steps. A whole step is an interval that is composed of two half steps. If I go from C to D, that's a whole step because between those two notes is C sharp or D flat. So the scale goes tonic, whole step to 3, half step to 4, whole step to 5. And then if you start on 5, it does the same thing from 5 that it does from the tonic. It goes 5, whole step, half step. Tonic, whole step, half step. Dominant, whole step, half step. That gives you the sound of the scale, the intervallic formula. Now we come to the most rich area of resources of the scale. This is something the scale offers to you. It offers two things that sound extremely fancy and complex, and in fact are not really that fancy once you see the arithmetic of it. Basically, it is the idea that within a scale, the septatonic major scale with 7 notes, that you can start that same scale on any one of those notes. And because the intervallic formula changes by moving up in the scale, you have a totally different sound. And that's how you get the 7 Greek modes, which have fancy names, and everybody, or very many people, become intimidated by this. It's quite easy to learn, though. The first is called the Ionian. The one that starts on the second note is the Dorian. The third is the Phrygian. The fourth is the Lydian. The fifth is the Mixolydian. The sixth is the Aeolian, and the seventh is the Locrian. Each of these scales has its own character. If I play the major scale, I can make up that sound of music, circus music, whatever you want to call that. If I start on the second note, I'm already in a different world, and I explore that world of sound. And we're in a very new sound, a new environment, orally, tonally, by going to the next mode. Now these modes are easy to find. You can Google them, check them out, learn them. But I just want to expose you to the concept that there are 7 scales contained within this scale, the major scale. And then it also contains the 7 diatonic 7th chords. Diatonic is an important word in music. It means the same thing that diameter means, a diameter across the circle, diatonic across the tonality, meaning you stay in the one key, you don't use notes from outside the scale of that key. If you go into notes from outside the scale, you are now playing chromatic music. So diatonic and chromatic are opposite each other. If you look at those modes that I told you about, and you play just the first, the third, the fifth, and the 7th note of each mode, you will have 7 7th chords, and those are the diatonic 7th chords. In the key of C, they sound like this. Major scale, it's got 7 notes. It's got the 1, the 2, the 3, the 4, the 5, the 6, the 7. There are 7 names associated with those notes: tonic, supertonic, median, subdominant, dominant, submedian, leading tone. There are 7 scales associated with those 7 notes: Ionian, Dorian, Phrygian, Lydian, Mixolydian, Aeolian, Locrian, Ionian again, and then it has the 7 diatonic 7th chords, which in the key of C would be C major 7th, D minor 7th, E minor 7th, F major 7th, G 7th, A minor 7th, B half diminished 7th, back to C major 7th. In the next video, I'm going to talk about how to utilize these things in practice in very simple ways that can quickly become challenging and complex and allow you to explore these environments and these language items in your own way, which, as we always like to point out, is the great message of jazz. Own the music yourself. Jazz gives music back to the musicians. You have to own the music and understand it, develop your true musicianship. And the other rule of jazz, Oscar Wilde said it best, as I said before. Be yourself, everyone else is taken. So you find your own way to work on this stuff in the practice room. It's quite exciting. Okay, see you in the next one.